But the one thing that struck me when I was walking through ancient Rome was that the largest and most powerful empires on earth, they can fall and they can end up buried under meters of dirt. And I'm wondering if you think that today's inhabitants of the West have a false sense of security about the permanence of their cities and their civilization.
Oh, yes. Some people say, that an entity can grow too big to fail. That's something that you'll hear said. But I think the truth of it is that everything eventually, however big it grows, everything big always fails. Look at every empire there's ever been. You go back to Mesopotamia, 4,000 and more years ago. Look at the Persian Empire. Look at Greece. Look at Rome. Look at the Austro-Hungarian. Look at the British Empire. The European Union is an empire in all but name, and it's cracking. Eventually, all empires must fall, and which is a good thing and a bad thing. If we're living through something at the moment, it won't last. This totalitarianism won't last because it can't. It's too, a one world order or a one world government is too big and will fail, however long that takes. There's a great television series in the 1970s called Civilisation, and it was presented by Kenneth Clark, who was an art historian, and he analysed where civilization comes from and where it goes. And he suggested that when it comes to the failure of all civilizations, it comes not because of pressure from without. It's not the barbarians at the gates that bring it down. It's exhaustion within. And it's a loss of confidence within. And I think the loss of confidence comes, Hannah Arendt, who wrote about the banality of evil, after watching Nazi trials in the 1940s. She said that people become complacent about their present. They take it for granted. There's been some generations now who have lived in the West who didn't have a hand in building it from the ground up, fighting for freedom, spilling blood, losing loved ones along the way. And so they're tricked into thinking that the kind of lives that we've been able to live here in the West are just happen. That you turn up at a bus stop and the bus comes. You go to an auto teller and put your card in and money comes out. That kind of miraculous order just happens. That's a lethally dangerous misconception. And every now and again, enough complacent, take it for granted generations come and go, and the whole thing falls down because people are forgetting that freedom and civilization have to be worked for and fought for every minute of every day. Because the minute you stop doing that, the minute you take your feet off the pedals and free wheel, it just grinds to a halt. And stops and falls over.
On that point, I mean, as an archaeologist, have you ever fantasized about picking through the remains of somewhere like London and trying to explain to the camera what went wrong with Western civilization? Because I wager our story is going to be rather disappointing. We lack the drama of the Easter Island head arms race, if that's a good comparison. I am surprised to hear myself using language like the following, which is to say, I think there is a degeneracy in the West. There's been a decadence in the West, born of plenty, born of too many people taking it for granted that we can have all the food, all the white goods, all the tech, everything our hearts desire, has bred, that's decadent. A dangerous decadence, and the successor to decadence is a degeneracy that's creeping in as well in the West, which I never expected to hear myself say. But I think there is a dangerous decadence and degeneracy that has crept in that is part of and is symptomatic of our collapse. So when you say picking through the debris of a London in 1,000 years' time and trying to understand what happened. It's what always happens. It's what brought down, it's why Rome fell. It's why all of the empires fall. It's exhaustion from within. Eventually people think, I just wish something would happen. There's a famous poem by the contemporary Greek poet C.P. Cavafy about barbarians in the hinterland of a great city. And the people within the city, they know the barbarians are out there. And they think that the day's going to come when they're just going to break down the gates and come in. And actually within the city, the people are eventually hoping that will happen because they're so bored that anything new sounds like a good idea. And then the day comes and they're waking up and the barbarians have gone. They've just left and gone elsewhere without ever coming to the city. And the people within the city are disappointed because at least the arrival of the barbarians would have been something new.